Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the first installment of our new video series for our channel, which is going to be Sky Commercial Enterprises. I am Jupiter Sky, your host, and unfortunately, I had to dump a lot of things off of my camera's storage in order just to get this video. So I don't have a lot of time, about 15 minutes, but I figured we need to go over some really important stuff. So the first thing we're going to try to go over is getting you to understand what is a right, how to exercise it, and what that means. Now, right here on the screen, I have a copy of Black's Fourth, and you'll see down here, if I scroll down, it says, as a noun and taken in a concrete sense, a right is a power, privilege, faculty, or demand inherent in one person and incident upon another. Rights are defined generally as powers of free action, and the primal rights pertaining to men are undoubtedly enjoyed by human beings purely as such, being grounded in personality and existing antecedently to their recognition by positive law. But leaving the abstract moral sphere and giving to the term juristic content, a right is well defined as a capacity residing in one man of controlling, with the assent and assistance of the state, the actions of others. Okay, so now we know what a right is. It is a power, privilege, faculty, or demand inherent in one person and incident upon another. Power, or generally defined as powers of free action. So, if we just look at the opposite end of that, a right, what is the opposite of a right? Usually a wrong. If we go over here to etymology.com, you look at the word right as a noun. Right is that which is morally right, duty, obligation. Also, rule of conduct, law of a land. And I don't know if you can see that. Also, what someone deserves, a just claim, what is due, correctness, truth, and legal entitlement. Now, if you think about that, it's what someone deserves, a just claim, what is due, correctness, truth, a legal entitlement, meaning the right as a right action, a good deed. Now, I want you to see something here. This is off of the Free Legal Dictionary. Or freedictionary.com, legal dictionary. If we think about the words exercise, to put into action, practice, or force, to make use of something such as a right or option. To exercise dominion over land is to openly indicate absolute possession and control. So, to exercise a right is to put it into action, practice, or force, to make use of it, something such as a right or an option. Now that's under the legal dictionary. If you look over here under the financial dictionary, because a lot of times we all know that this legal system goes back to money, so why not look up the definition under the financial dictionary. I'm sorry, this is exercise. We're going to exercise again. To implement the right of a holder of an option to buy or to sell the underlying security, or to require the delivery of the option's underlying asset. So to exercise a right is to require the delivery of the option's underlying asset. To exercise is to require the delivery of the underlying asset. Now, what is the underlying asset we're talking about here? It is a right. Going back to a right, what does that mean? It means what someone deserves, a just claim, what is due, correctness, truth, a legal entitlement. Okay, so then we're going to go over here to their rights under the humanrights.com, what are human rights? Okay. A human, noun, a member of the Homo sapiens species, a man, woman, or child, a person. We're pretty much all familiar with the concept of that. And rights are noun, things to which you are entitled or allowed, freedoms that are granted. Okay. Now, the reason I brought all that up is because of the fact that I want to bring this to your attention next. Basically, when you're exercising a right, you're claiming that which is yours. It is not able to be messed with. It is not able to be taken away from you. It's a right. Now, the way we're going to apply this to the legal system is this. Basically, everybody's watched enough TV to know that you have certain rights, and the police will always read you your rights if they're going to arrest you for a crime or some other stupid thing. And that is, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney, which we can get into that later. Actually, the Constitution says you have the right to counsel, which is a whole different ballgame altogether. But generally, they'll tell you you have a right to an attorney. You have the right to remain silent. They tell you anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, etc., etc. We've all heard this before, whether we've ever been arrested or not, because it's on TV all the time. Well, I want you to think about those rights for a minute. You have a right to remain silent. Okay, great. You also have, under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, a right not to provide any information to the government which may tend to criminate you in any past, present, or future civil, administrative, or criminal proceeding. So you have the right not to do these things. Do you ever exercise those rights? Do you ever lay claim to those rights? What is the first thing a cop always asks you? Well, do you have some ID? Okay, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. What business of yours is that? Generally, I try to reflect on the police officers or the agents that are asking those questions. I like to respond with a question of my own. Sometimes it makes them a little annoyed, but I don't care because they're my servants and that's how I roll. So the question I usually ask them immediately after they ask me, do I have some ID, would be this. If I were to have such a document, could it be used against me? Well, think about that one. It's a little profound, I know, and it's super simple, stupid question that nobody wants to ever ask. But if I give you this ID, if I give you this driver's license, are you going to write me a ticket? Are you going to give me a citation? Are you going to check that name for warrants? Are you going to use that information against me in any way, shape, or form? Well, of course they are. That's why they're asking you for it, because they need your assistance. So we can exercise our rights not to provide that information. That's your right to remain silent. You don't have to remain silent, but you definitely should exercise your right not to say anything that may be used against you. That's kind of a conundrum. How do we deal with that? Well, you can exercise your right not to provide any information that may tend to criminate you without exercising your right to remain silent. Honestly, I think that if you were just to shut your mouth and not say anything, you would probably get yanked out of your car or sat down on the sidewalk and handcuffed, and they wouldn't care because you're just acting dumb and not saying anything. Well, so how do we get around that? Ask questions, maybe. Because therefore you're not exercising your right to remain silent, but you're still exercising your right not to provide that information that can be used against you. Now, what happens if you exercise these rights? Well, let's go over here to these court cases that we can reflect on. And I'm not going to go into a lot of them because I have a personal opinion about anything that's a court case or court citation that is